What's going on? Good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, the Black Business School, and I want to say hello. I hope you guys are having a good day, and we're about to have a good conversation today. One that I think is much needed. One that I think maybe I'm hoping that I can give a little insight that might be helpful to the cause in terms of understanding things a little bit better than we did yesterday. So give me a second, guys. I'm going to actually send out a quick text message to let everybody know that we're live. If you want to get a text notification when we go live, I can't send them out every time, but every now and then I'll send one out. Text the word Boyce to 31996. Text Boyce to 31996. So get comfortable in the chat and shout out your city. Put your hashtag B1 in the chat. Hashtag B1 means that we put black people first, that the black community is number one on our mind. Nobody else gets consideration until we consider our own. And black people, when we sit down at the dinner table, we eat first. We eat first. You got it? So if you agree with that sentiment, if you agree with that ideology, then type a hashtag B1 in the chat. And also shout out the city that you're from. And give me 1 second. I'm going to send out the quick text. All right, so here's one of the things I wanted to kind of hit on today. It was this terrible situation with my brother Ahmaud Arbery. Ahmaud Arbery, that whole situation was very sad. It's sad because it's just really messed up. I mean, how you're out jogging and these stupid hillbillies that think that they're police officers decide to chase you down and feel that they have the right to apprehend you. Right? We know that that's all kinds of wrong. We know that that's absolutely crazy. It's ridiculous. It's sick. It's really a remnant of slavery. Slave catching days. Like that's they don't see it that way. Of course, I think they see it as we weren't chasing a black man because he was black. We were chasing a guy that we thought was a burglar or whatever. And yeah, but I don't even know that many people anywhere who would even think to chase a person down with guns and end up shooting that person. I just don't even think that don't even make no damn sense. So we know that that's all kinds of stupid, all kinds of ridiculous. It's a very Emmett Till-ish kind of situation, and that's what it is, right? Now here's what's been going on, right? So what I always pay attention to is not just the incident itself, but I always think deeply about like what does this mean? How do we solve it? What's the reaction of the public? And what do I vote for? What's my preference? And I've seen everything across the board. I think I saw there are predictable things that happen in these situations. There's a lot of things in these situations that are very predictable. One is there's going to be some civil rights attorney that jumps on the case. That is an industry. Civil rights attorneys. Unfortunately, if they're not careful, they can be giving the impression, they can almost look like ambulance chasers, because what they do is they look for these cases and they run toward them because these cases give them at least a couple things attorneys want, which is money and fame. A lot of people want to be the next Johnny Cochran, and they also know that there's an emotional reaction that comes with it. And it gets but the good thing though is they tend to get justice for the family. Guys like Lee Merritt and the other brother down that did Trayvon Martin's case. You know what I'm talking about. These guys are good at what they do. And I like lawyers, believe me. Shoot, if you go into business and you start doing business with big money, you're going to love your lawyers. Your lawyers are your defenders, believe me. So never underestimate the power of a good attorney. But then there's sort of the other side of it of saying, okay, so what is this? What is this all about? Like, what is the goal here? And are we spinning our wheels, right? Are we spinning our wheels? Because, I don't know. I'm going to say that when you look at these situations, it's hard for me to really get emotionally inspired about one case anymore. And it's not because the case does not matter. It's not because that story does not matter. But the reason that it's tough to kind of get inspired is because we tend to have gotten to a society where we elevate the story over the statistics, right? We elevate the story over the systematic problems, right? So if you have these ambulance chasing civil rights attorneys running from case to case, holding press conferences with the family, the whole country centers all their attention on that one case, so that they can sort of get justice for one family. What you unfortunately end up doing is you're taking a light that should be shined on 100,000 injustices, and you're shining it on one, right? You're shining it on one case, and you're getting a victory. Because again, these attorneys are good, but the victory is, in my opinion, they become these one-off victories. We've been getting one-off victories since Emmett Till. Since the days before Emmett Till, we were getting one-off victories. And it's predictable, right? Not only does a civil rights attorney show up and hold the press conference, but also you have some sort of march, right? The civil rights leaders show up. It might be Al Sharpton or somebody else trying to be another Al Sharpton, right? And they hold some sort of march, and they bring awareness to the issue. The white liberal allies, I'm using big quotes here, the white liberal allies all show up, and they start interviewing these these civil rights superstars, and the same people, thank you, Charmaine, the same people, and they have lots and lots of incessant conversations about one case. And I believe that it is either deliberately or inadvertently a situation where they will talk incessantly about one situation to avoid talking about the other 200,000 situations that exist in our system right now. If you look in America right now, right? If you look at, this is one of the reasons why I know I know your civil rights leaders told you integration was just such a wonderful thing, and white people, that their poop smells like lemonade, and that that they're your saviors, they're your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and everything else, and I know that they told you all that. But let me just tell you a couple little things about all this integration stuff. Three of the major systems that black people were integrated into by our allies, see, I'm using a lot of air quotes today, are the economic system, the criminal justice system, and the educational system. Those are three systems that we were integrated into, right? Now, the economic system, I hope that if you've been watching me for even 2 weeks, you understand the depth to which you've been financially raped, right? You understand the depth to which you've been, literally been given the financial version of a sexual assault every single day, every single week for about the last, 80, 100 years. Probably longer than that, actually. Actually, scratch that. We got to include slavery. I mean, that's free labor. That's the ultimate rape. That's kidnapping and rape, right? So you know this, right? You know economically where the issues are, right? You know that when you send your son off to college, you know that your son is still probably more likely to die in student loan debt than he is to actually make an income that allows him to die with actual wealth, right? You do understand this. If you don't understand it, just find any video I've ever done on this topic, and I will break it down for you very easily, and I have data because I'm a finance PhD. Now, I'm not bragging, I'm just telling the truth. LeBron's a basketball player. He has a PhD in basketball. I have a PhD in finance. So I'm like the LeBron James of finance. So I'm about to dunk on you fools. All right. So anyway, I'm being silly. I'm in a silly mood today. So because you got to be silly too, because this stuff will make you really mad if you think about it too much. So we know economically we've been screwed. We're trying to unscrew ourselves, which is requiring a complete recalibration of everything that we think we know about black economics, everything that we think we know about what economic success looks like, everything that we think we know about integration, right? Second system, educational system. Give me a yes or no in the chat. Yes or no in the chat. Are black boys being elevated in the public school system? Are black boys better off by attending public schools and being educated by white people than they are by being educated by black people? Yes or no? Yes or no? Give me a yes or no if you think black boys are better off in these public schools. If the statistics are in the favor of black boys, do you think black boys, give me a yes if you think that black boys are doing wonderfully. Give me a no if you think that it's an absolute motherfucking shit show. Okay. Thank you. I need us to get on the same page on some of this so you'll understand where I'm coming from when I kind of analyze this. I'm not interested in analyzing things in the way that people do on places like CNN, where they're not there to solve any problems. I actually want to solve problems, and I really care about this. And I care about this guy, this poor brother who died. I hate it. I love LeBron James. I know Jason Whitlock very well. I don't like Jason as much as I like LeBron. Sorry, bro, if you're watching the video. I like LeBron more than I like you because I agree with LeBron more than I agree with you. But I'm going to go ahead and analyze what he said about LeBron, probably in a way that's a little bit different from everybody else. Not to the point of agreeing, but to the point of describing what I hope he was trying to say when he criticized LeBron's comment. So let's go deeper. Third system, criminal justice system. I can go down to the south side of Chicago. In fact, I went to the south side of Chicago. I knew somebody that lived. I know a lot of people in the south side of Chicago. Chicago's my city. I mean, shout out to Chicago. Love y'all so much. And I remember I went to a friend's house, and there was a lady who had two daughters, and her dad had been incarcerated. And I said, when was your dad locked up? And she said, he was locked up when I was 7. And I was like, okay, wow, I'm really sorry to hear that. I said, when did he get out? She said, oh, he'll never get out. And basically her father had dealt some drugs back in the 80s, and he's never getting out. And then I met her daughters, and who had different dads, and each of the dads of the daughters were in or out of jail, right? In or out of jail. I think both of them at the time were in jail. One of them was coming home soon, and you could see the excitement in the little girl's eyes when she talked about how excited she was that her daddy was coming home. But once I learned a little bit more about her daddy, I honestly got the feeling that her daddy was going to come home, but there's a good chance he might not stay home. Anybody who knows anything about this system, the criminal justice system, knows that the system is designed to kind of keep, like they don't let their animals go. They don't let their animals out of the cage, and that's what they see you as a profitable animal. So once you're kind of in, and they set the bar so high that it's very difficult to escape from that. And so I tell that story because this wasn't a rare occasion. This was something that is systematic. This is something that has happened to hundreds of thousands of black families across the country. Now, the reason that we don't see it sometimes is because we are looking for, or maybe because the problem is so overwhelming, that we look for these little one-off victories. We look for these little baby wins to allow us to feel better about ourselves, right? Like you're in a basketball game, you're down by, you're playing basketball, you're down 188-12, and you're like, you hit one layup and you're going crazy because you hit a layup, but you're nowhere near winning the game, right? In order to win the game, you're really going to have to change your game plan. In order to win the game, you're down 188-12. You're not going to win by hitting a layup every 30 minutes. To win the game, you're going to have to get a new coach, right? And to win the game, you're going to have to look at every player on that goddamn bench and say, okay, some of y'all going to have to go. Some of y'all going to have to go. Because the problem for team black people is that you're not only are you not winning championships, and not only are you not making the playoffs, but you're losing every game by 70 points. But many of y'all refuse to change the coaches. Many of y'all refuse to change the game plan. A lot of y'all let the same players get out in the game, and then you wonder why you keep losing. Well, I would say that when you look at situations like this, I believe that there's going to be justice for Ahmaud. I believe that somebody's going to pay big money. I believe those two white boys are scared to death. I think they're going to be convicted. I hope that they will be. But either way, the family's going to be taken care of financially, and I hope that they get sent to prison. But that's not really going to make my day much better. Not because I don't care about Ahmaud, but because there's 100,000 people, 100,000 cases that we're not even addressing because of the angle with which we're addressing this issue. Do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up button, share, and subscribe button real quick. And I want to give a shout out to iwantamasknow.com. There's somebody in the platform who comes in and he sells KN95 face masks. And you can use the code Dr Boyce to get 30% off. So write that down. It's iwantamasknow. Sorry, iwantamasknow.com. iwantamasknow.com. You can get your KN95 face mask at iwantamasknow.com website. Is that right? Is it iwantamasknow.com or is it iwantamask.com? Try them both. Type it in the chat if you have the URL, and you can use the code Dr Boyce and get 30% off. I don't know the people who run the company. I just know they're in the chat. And if you have a business and you make a donation, you put the name of your business, I'll shout out your business. For it's good cheap advertising. All right, so here's what LeBron said about this whole situation. And I love LeBron. I just love LeBron a lot because I think the guy is so different from all the other athletes before him. He uses his power in a very responsible way, and I have a tremendous amount of just respect for him. And basically what he says about Ahmaud Arbery is he says, quote, "We're literally hunted every day, every time we step foot outside the comfort of our homes," James wrote on Twitter Wednesday night. "Can't even go for a damn jog, man. Like, what the fuck, man? Are you kidding me? No man, FR, I don't know, FR, no man, FR, are you kidding me? I'm sorry, Ahmaud. Rest in paradise, and my prayers and blessings sent to the heavens above to you and your family." Okay, and I understand that frustration, and I respect it, and I think that LeBron expressed the sentiment of a lot of people, and I think that, and also just with LeBron being very popular in the black community, entertainers can pretty much say or kind of do almost anything, and we're gonna love it because we tend to have this sort of real interesting celebrity worship, which I don't know if it's always healthy for the community. FR means for real. Oh, okay, thank you. See, now you're making me feel old, but I appreciate that. Now I feel a little less old. How about that? So LeBron makes his comment. Then Jason Whitlock comes back, and Jason says, "This isn't helpful. It's Twitter trolling. It's using this man's tragedy to build a brand as more outspoken than Michael Jordan. There are all kinds of ways to draw attention to this tragedy. Suggesting that we are hunted every day, every time is just shit stirring." So Jason is an interesting guy. I've talked to him on the phone maybe like 3 or 4 times, and I don't dislike him. But again, I don't like him as much as LeBron, and I don't agree with him as much as LeBron. I think Jason, I see Jason a little bit like a real life version of Eric Cartman on South Park. Eric Cartman kind of just does stuff to kind of get on your nerves, get under your skin. And again, because Jason is this guy on TV, that's kind of how you get opportunities, is you kind of say stuff that's really against the grain. And he does that on a regular basis. So I would try to take it with a grain of salt, although I can understand people being offended by what he said, because I have a hard time believing that LeBron was saying this just for his brand. Now, mind you, one thing that you have to understand though is that for people that are dealing with millions and millions of dollars at a time, there are brand considerations for everything you tweet. That's why, for example, some of these celebrities that are stupid enough to tweet while they're high or drunk, they're really stupid because they're risking a lot. Like Snoop Dogg. I really believe Snoop sometimes will say things on social media. He brags about being high all the time, right? And I don't think that that's very smart with his brand. And you see right now he's going through that situation with that woman who's really trying to destroy everything. I mean, she's laying out all kinds of nonsense on him, and I don't know if it's true or not. I ain't getting into that. But it's kind of like you've got, when you get a brand, you got to protect it, right? So I think that the brand calculation probably plays a part in that. But I don't think that's the sole reason why LeBron said what he said. I think that he was genuinely outraged, and his response was heartfelt, and I respect that. Now, what I would come and say to LeBron and say is as an OG, right? LeBron is 35. I'm a little older than LeBron, so I could give him some advice, on this. I would say to him, okay, we know, I get it, right? You want to tweet about it. I think that's great. You're drawing awareness to it. That's a great first step. 2, send some money, maybe pay for the funeral, do some things like that. That helps the family, and it also is good. It's authentic to your brand. It's letting people know, hey, I do care about the people. That's, and I care about what the people care about, right? But then after you show the people that you care about what the people care about, maybe you can encourage the people to care about something bigger, right? Encourage, don't just sort of respond to what people care about, tell them what they should care about. Right? Because you're not some guy on Twitter who's pissed off. You're not just sort of the average angry black man who's sitting in the hood who ain't got no power. You're not that guy. You're King James. you're an American, a global hero. You're richer than 99.99% of the country. You are a megastar, right? Like a star in the universe has a gravitational pull that goes out billions of miles, and everything in that solar system revolves around that sun. So everything that you do, everything you say, people are going to respond to that. And your sphere of influence, the impact you have, is far greater than some dude in the hood, some broke dude in the hood, right? So I get what you're saying, right? Like, okay, what the fuck, man, this is some bullshit. And then you do what celebrities do. A lot of celebrities do this, right? And I'm going to challenge this a little bit. They'll pay for the funeral, right? And then they'll maybe have a press release that they paid for the funeral, and people will be like, oh, that's so nice. He gives to the community because he paid for the funeral. That ain't given to the community. The Jewish community, they expect you to do stuff like that. That's not giving to the community. That is not partnering with the community. That is not elevating the community. That is a symbolic gesture to show symbolic support. That is like me opening the door for a lady who really didn't even need me to really open the door anyway, or maybe me sending you flowers on your birthday. Like that's nice, but it's not the same as me paying your bills or helping you move or spending 8 hours with you in the hospital. Those are two different things. And Tyler Perry is notorious for that. And they do a lot of this. And I want to be careful here because I don't want to make it sound like I'm dissing any of these individuals. But Tyler Perry, I see the game. Like Tyler Perry does that all the time. And Tyler Perry make sure that you know what he did, right? He doesn't do things anonymously very often, at least not that we know of. But then again, if it's anonymous, you wouldn't know, right? But every time you hear that Tyler Perry paid for a lady to get her roof fixed, you got to ask yourself, how did the whole world find out that Tyler Perry fixed the lady's roof? The lady doesn't have the power to, get global media to notice what's going on in her house, right? It's because there's a publicist who said, ooh, we're going to do a press release and talk about this as the good deeds that you're doing, and people are going to love you for it, right? And I think that that's fine. I think that those things are good. They are a first start, but that's not the same as substantive, impactful, systematic adjustments to your community, right? Remember, the biggest problem you have, the reason your team black people, is losing the game of racial inequality by 188 to 12 is because you got bad coaches, you've got bad players on the bench, and you've got a bad game plan. So we have to question all of these things, right? So here's what, when I heard LeBron get angry, you know what it reminded me of too? Remember when all those poor girls in Nigeria got kidnapped, and Michelle Obama held up that little sign, and it said bring back our girls, and she was like that, and they made sure they put it on Twitter. If Michelle Obama were a regular lady, that had no power at all, then that would be appropriate. But when you're the first lady of the United States, whose husband controls one of the most, if not the most powerful military on the planet, there's probably a little bit more you could do. Maybe you could call the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and say, is there something we could do to help out? Do we have troops in the region? Like you're not some little helpless housewife. Like, you are a person that actually has the ability to change things. So you're not a person who's impacted by the game. You're a person with the power to shift the game. LeBron is not a person who's just impacted by the atrocities committed against black males. He can actually systematically, on a cosmic level, modify the lives of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of black males very, very quickly. And so one of the things I would say is, I'll explain in terms of what you might say. Okay, well, Boyce, what do you want? Why are you pushing on this issue? Well, let me explain it with a story. I was talking to some guys over at Nike, where LeBron he has endorsement deals or whatever. And these are the guys at the Air Jordan brand. And I'm not, we had private conversations. I'm not going to talk about all of that. But one of the things I tried to talk about, or we did talk about, and I brought it up, and I said, the Air Jordan brand makes billions of dollars off of the young black male. I know for a fact, I've studied it. The young black male in the hood sets every fashion trend imaginable for especially for the Air Jordan brand and some other stuff like that. I said, but if you look at statistics, the young black male is actually struggling more than anybody else in America. And I see your question, Cloud Division. He says, what do you think LeBron should do instead? I'm absolutely getting to that. Pay attention to the story, and you'll understand. And I said, given that the young black male is giving so much to your brand, what can we do to give back to them? And the answers I heard, they were very nice from what I consider to be a symbolic standpoint, but they were not sort of the deep digging substantive things that were really going to make a difference. So for example, I heard about a program where they would give students a pair of Jordans if they make good grades. Okay, that's nice. You're encouraging good grades. That's a good start. That's cute. It's cute. I think they had maybe Nike does maybe 4 or 5 internships a year. And I said, okay, so you got 4 people, you got 4 million are affected, 40 million, 20 million, whatever. But you're helping 4. Okay. So, and the 4 that are coming in, they're not really sort of being trained to do anything that's really going to elevate their community. They're all sort of being trained to come work for a white man. They're all being trained to come work for white people, right? Like that's one of the things you got to really be careful about, is that, again, this is one of the flaws in your game plan and why you're losing, is that many of the people that you look at as your leaders are nothing more than high-paid employees. The black community will never be elevated by a Negro with a job. It will never be elevated. Maybe it could happen. Maybe there are certain circumstances, but 99 times out of 100, the black community will never be elevated by a Negro with a job. So when you see your Hollywood celebrities who work for white-owned studios, you see your NBA athletes who work for white-owned teams, when you see, your favorite, people that are on TV or whatever who work for CNN, these are high-paid people that have, jobs. And a job is a one-off. A job is like an elevator that kind of has room for one person, right? That's not something, you can't bring 40 million people up through an elevator that only fits one person. So I say it again, the black community will never be elevated in a substantive way by a Negro with a job. The black community will be elevated in a substantive way by the black people who can create jobs. When you can take your success and multiply that by 1 million, then that's when the community, you'll see substantive change in the community. When you can look at 1 million people and say, these people now have an extra $10,000 a year in their bank accounts because of something I'm doing. Not charity. Fuck charity, man. Stop that shit. Stop thinking the black community is a goddamn charity case. That's another part of your game plan that always keeps you losing. You go back to that same stupid ass charity game plan. The black community is not disabled. We are not stupid. We are not a bunch of fucking Jerry's kids. We are not, part of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. We actually have really intelligent people who are very capable, who are trying to figure out how to create opportunities. So in terms of, when you ask me, what would I look for from a LeBron James? Where would I kind of challenge him and support him? Again, if anybody knows LeBron, let him know. You can call me. I'll be happy to give advice. I've given advice to a few different, celebrity types. I don't really hang out in celebrity spaces that much. I don't like that too much, because I like to just do what I do. But I would be more than happy to give free advice on this. Something that is transformative from an economic standpoint, an educational standpoint, or criminal justice standpoint. Let's start with economics. I see a lot of celebrities that do these business deals where, like you hear Jay-Z invested $5 million in Uber or something, right? And I think that's good for Jay-Z, but I don't give a shit, because that's good for Jay-Z and his family. I'm sitting here asking, why didn't you go back to the Marcy Projects where you're from and invest $5 million in, an entrepreneur in Marcy Projects who was hiring people in Marcy Projects? Seriously. Because when you invest in Uber, you're investing in you're helping a bunch of white boys get richer. And then when you turn to the black community, you give them a little charity. You're like, okay, I'm going to go to the hood and go to a strip club and make it rain, or I'm going to go and I'm gonna give $20,000 for a scholarship, right? Like, so the black community kind of gets your scraps, but other communities kind of get the best of you. They get your respect. You see, you respect those you invest with. Those you give charity to, you kind of feel sorry for them. You don't always necessarily see them as your equals, right? Let's talk about LeBron. So we can talk about LeBron in an educational standpoint. LeBron has a school, and it's a good school. I think it was great. I thought it was awesome that LeBron built a school. I mean, how many NBA athletes build a school? But since when did the whole black community ever get saved by one school? I mean, really, like, is the whole black community going to be transformed by the building of one school? Tell me. No, it's not. You can't save a community with one goddamn school. You can't do that. Like, one school is symbolic. I mean, it's great for the 400 kids, 300 kids that go to that school. And I'm not in any way complaining about what LeBron did. I'm not saying that LeBron came up short, or man, you weak, you lost, blah, 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 blah. I'm saying that a lot of our celebrities are sitting on a lot of power that they're not utilizing. So LeBron wouldn't even have to spend his own money. I don't even know if he spent his own money for that school. He's King James. So if you can get corporate partners together to do, some consortium to go invest in a tech startup, why can't you get corporate partners together to help you invest in a school project that allows you to go to raise, $100 million or $500 million to build, 500 to 1,000 schools all across the United States with black educators for black children, or with black and brown educators in black neighborhoods, right? Why can't you do that? Why is that out of the question? Why is that so ridiculous? Why is that so pie in the sky? You can't change a whole community with one school, and again, that whole symbolism thing came up again. Remember back when Umar Johnson spent all that time talking about one damn school, and I was like, is that again our game plan's not working? And I said, man, like, why are we getting so pumped up about the building of one school? I've really never seen the whole white community feel that all of America was going to be transformed because they were going to build one really great school. Right now, now here's the thing. LeBron can't do everything, but LeBron can do a lot. Right? And I'm not saying LeBron is doing nothing. That's the other thing, too. I want to make sure that's 100% clear. Before you get into your hero worship, because I know y'all want to believe celebrities are perfect, I want to just kind of throw this out there and say, when you look at the Ahmaud Arbery situation, just sort of having this outrage, like, I'm an angry black man, too, that might make him more relatable. But the reality is that he's not the same as a brother in the hood who has no power. He's one of the most powerful men on the planet, right? So when you're one of the most powerful people on the planet, the game has to shift, right? Like if I'm in the basketball game. So again, we're in the game of racial inequality, and we're losing to white people 188 to 12. And let's say that we're in this game, and let's say that I'm Michael Jordan, right? So I can actually score points. I can drop buckets like crazy if I want to, and I'm on team black people. And we're all sitting on the bench, but I'm sitting next to, a bunch of hokey scrubs who, and an old lady, on a cane, and a couple other people that really can't play that well, or maybe a guy who's only 4 feet tall. And let's say that I'm sitting here and I'm 6'7", and I'm one of the greatest athletes on the planet, and we're losing 188 to 12. And somebody says, guys, you're losing 188 to 12. And let's say that I sit back and I say, oh my God, this is unbelievable, man. Dang, like, we always be getting beat, y'all. This ain't fair. Like, why we be losing like that? They just be scoring all the points, and every time we get the ball, they steals it. And then then sometimes you takes a shot and they block it. And think about that. So I'm sitting here and I'm an extraordinary basketball player, right? I've got the ability to change that whole game if I want to, right? But I don't know my personal power yet. I don't know my power. So I think, or I'm behaving like I'm like the old lady sitting next to me, right? And I'm not making fun of LeBron. I know that was an extreme analogy. I'm not making fun of him, but I'm saying that that's what I see when I see LeBron as a man worth $400 million and having global power that most of you can't imagine. That's what I see when I see him screaming and hollering like he's a angry black man, like just a young angry black man in the streets who's kind of getting, who could be hunted at any moment. No, you're not. They're not going to hunt you. You're LeBron James, right? But I get the point. You're speaking for those who could be hunted. You're speaking for those who are being mistreated, and I think that that's a wonderful thing. But there has to be a point where you say, in my opinion, if I'm really connected to the black male, how do I work on some things that are going to lead to some substantive long-term modifications in the lives of millions of black men? So, for example, let me give you an example. Myself, I do finance, right? And I was teaching 30 students a year at Syracuse University. I was a Negro with a job. My mother was very proud of me. All my family said, just stay away from this black people stuff and you can keep your job. And when stuff would happen in the community, I would say, wow, it really sucks that black people don't have financial literacy, right? But then I realized, like, wait a minute, the internet can reach the entire world. So maybe if I build a platform where I can impact the economic thinking of, millions of people, then I can actually change the way families actually engage with one another, right? Maybe I can help do my part to preserve the strength of the black family by giving specific instructions, particularly to the black men, also to women as well, on how to navigate this system and how to raise your children in such a way that they understand the steps of what it means to become a wealth builder, right? Like these are some of the things that went through my brain when I decided to talk to all of you instead of just talking to myself or just sitting and talking to other smart people or just complaining about a problem, right? So I think that when you look at the Ahmaud Arbery case in more detail, I think that local laws are tough to change. I think that the Democratic Party is definitely going to use this as a dog whistle moment to try to get you to vote Democratic. That's what they do. I'm still not voting for anybody. I just want to tell you the truth. And the reason I'm not is because, not because I don't care about Ahmaud Arbery, I do, but that's one guy. And there are hundreds of thousands of black people who were incarcerated under Bill Clinton and Joe Biden's crime bills, and they never actually fixed the issue. They talk about it and they apologize for it, but apologizing is not the same as fixing it. If I lock up your daddy and I say, I'm sorry I locked up your daddy, that's not enough. I need to let your daddy out of prison and compensate him for locking him up, right? So again, I encourage you to try your best to just do this basic thing. Figure out the difference between symbolism and substance. Symbolism has a role, but it is a starting point. It is the appetizer before the main course. It is the first leg of the relay race, right? And the problem that you have as black people is you don't finish the race. And because you don't finish the race, you keep either going in circles or you keep starting over and over and over again. And you keep having these one-offs, these one-off little baby worthless victories that don't really add up to anything. Because again, we've been getting one-off wins since before Emmett Till, right? Guys like Lee Merritt and the Trayvon Martin attorney, I can't remember his name. Guys like that, they've been able to build their careers off this for a long time. And I think that's fine. But my question is, at what point are we, addressing this on a massive scale? So the last thing I'll say is this, and I want to make this 100% abundantly clear. This is not in any way a criticism of LeBron. I am not criticizing him. I love what he does. And again, he's 30-something years old. So maybe some of these things he hasn't thought about yet. Maybe these ideas are things that can actually help him elevate his game a little bit in that area. The same way if I were out playing basketball, I'm sure he could teach me a move or two, right? So he's playing in my court, which is the black court, whatever that means. And maybe there are some things I'm seeing on the court. Maybe my court vision is a little bit different from his, where I can say, actually, if you move this way instead of that way, you could score more buckets and actually help the team win. Because at the end of the day, the goal is for black people to win. And the three key areas you want to focus on is you want to pay attention to three major systems: the economic system, the educational system, and the criminal justice system. And I definitely think when it comes to the economic system and the educational system, we need to take that over. We need to take all of that over. Black people need to educate black children, because black children that are educated by white people are in danger. Black children being educated by white people are not only going to they're either going to be destroyed or they're going to be trained to become white people. They're literally the American educational system is almost like a zombie factory. If you put your child in that system, they are going to be infected with the virus of white supremacy. And when they get that virus, then they're going to go out into the world thinking that they're all successful, thinking that they're doing something good for the world, and all they're going to end up doing is hurting black people or abandoning black people altogether, but sitting on some stupid little throne, saying, look at me, look at how accomplished I am, while the whole black community is still sitting around suffering or whatever, right? So I personally think that when it comes to economics, you got 1.3 trillion in wealth. Simply recirculating a good 10% of that 1.3 trillion in wealth, which is about $130 billion, is enough to create thousands of black millionaires, hundreds of black billionaires. Black people don't need jobs. Jobs are great, but jobs do not build wealth. Black people need our businesses, we need our systems, and we need our millionaires and billionaires in our own community who are hiring black people so that we can actually have true wealth built in the community and actually control those communities. We must take control of the economics. We must take control of the education. Now, the criminal justice part, that is a little bit more tricky. When I look at the Ahmaud Arbery situation, I see a situation where you're talking about a lot of this was local, right? You know, he's in some local neighborhood where they've got a local government and a local police force, and you know, whoever's in the White House, I don't know how much of a difference that's going to make one way or the other. But the thing about it, though, is, to be honest with you, I'm only so concerned about one person's situation. I'm really concerned about the situation of 40 million people. One guy is, it's unfortunate, and I know that it hits us emotionally because we all saw that terrible video. But there are a lot of people who go through situations like that where there was no video. I mean, if those rednecks had not been stupid enough to videotape themselves murdering this kid, then it would have been their word against his. They would have walked away free. There's a million cases out there just like that. Many of those people are in prison right now, and we're not paying any attention to any of those cases because we're only doing these sort of one-offs. We're paying attention to one case at a time. That's not going to get us anywhere. Okay, so anyway, guys, I'm done. That's all I have to say. Thank you for listening. Please hit the thumbs up button, share, and subscribe button. Thank you guys on Instagram. I see you. My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins. And please also hit the thumbs up button before you go. And one thing I was going to tell you is, if you haven't learned to buy your first share of stock yet, go to firstshareofstock.com. There's a free training there. One thing that I know for a fact that will increase black wealth dramatically by trillions of dollars in a generation is if we had, say, 1 million black people become stock market investors, because wealthy people have a much higher likelihood of investing in the stock market. So the first step to becoming wealthy, like LeBron is wealthy, right? I'm sure LeBron agrees with this. He hangs out with Warren Buffett. The first step to becoming wealthy is to do what wealthy people do. So if you don't know how to buy stock, I can show you. It's very easy. You can do it with any amount of money. You can start with $1. Go to firstshareofstock.com. That's firstshareofstock.com. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Have a good day, and love you, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Peace.